This video tutorial takes us through the process of how to work with text, style our fonts and create paragraph styles. We add all our content into InDesign within frames, and that includes text. So to add a text frame, we just need to click on this T here and click in our document, click and drag where we want our text frame to be, and you'll see this cursor start flashing straight away, which means we're ready to start typing. So we can either start typing in manually, or we can cut and paste from another document, or if we don't have our text available, we can fill it with some sort of dummy text. So if I just go up to the type here and go to fill with placeholder text, what that does, it fills the frame that we've just drawn with some sort of dummy text that we can then massage into shape, and then we can then replace it with our true text when we get it. Okay, so let's have a look first of all at this paragraph. If I just scroll over here, we can see that we've used Times New Roman. By default, InDesign uses Times as its default font. So if we want to change that, we can just click here and scroll down, and we see all the fonts that are available for us to use. Plus we get a little sample of what that font's going to look like. Another way of changing the font we want to use, if we start typing in, if we know the name of our font, say for instance I want to use a Gotham, so I just start typing in G-O-T-H-A-M and click return, and it guesses that I want to use Gotham and then changes that for me. Okay, so next door to that, you see we've got the point size here, so we can just scroll over our text and just change the point size to 10 point, or just clicking up and down if we wish, or just pick from one of these, or maybe just type in manually the point size that we want. Below that we've got the leading. So the leading refers to the space in between the lines, this space here in between the lines, and we can fine tune and adjust the leading again just by scrolling these up and down here, or typing in manually for the leading. Next door to that, you see down here we've got the tracking. So the tracking refers to the space between the characters across the line. So if I make this really obvious, make this super large so you can see it, so if I type in 500 there, you can see that it's extended the spaces between each characters across the line. Now above that, it's quite an interesting thing, above that we've got the kerning. So the kerning refers to the space in between two individual characters. Sometimes when we're typesetting, we'll get sort of odd spaces between characters due to their shape. Say for instance where you've got shapes at different angles, like a P, a capital P with a small a, or a capital T with a small a, because they're at kind of like jaunty angles. The space in between those two letters might appear odd depending on the font that you want to use. So if I just blow this up so you can see that, it's 24. So what you can do with that, if you place your cursor in between and then go up to the kerning here, you can kind of like fine tune the spaces in between and close them up as well. So it just gives you a little bit of extra fine tuning. If we go back to this, because I've mentioned before, because we've got this T selected, everything to do with the text now appears at the top here. You see this A symbol here, so that indicates all the font changes that we want to make. Below that we've got a paragraph formatting control, so if I just click on that, I just want to briefly show you a few things. So again, if I scroll over to this text at the top here, we've got our different paragraph alignment formats. So we've got a line left, a line right, centre, justify. We can also specify where we want it to sort of indent from the edge of the frame. So if I put 5mm, we can have like an indent. That works both ways as well. If I want a drop cap, for instance, for my first line here, if I want a drop cap of, say for instance, 3 lines, we can 1, 2, 3, just type in 3 there. And also this indicates the amount of letters. So say for instance I wanted the whole of that first word start to be drop caps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I need to put 5 letters in here. So that makes the whole of my first word into a drop capital word. Okay, so next door to that we see we've got automatic hyphenation on. If we want to switch that off, you can just toggle that on and off. And another really useful thing, if we go back into InDesign and we go into preferences and we go into grids here, and we can see that we can set a baseline grid. Now a baseline grid's really useful way of making sure that our fonts all stick to the same baseline. So if I want it to start at the top of the margin, so bang on the top of the margin of the page, and I want my increments to be 14 points. So 14 points, and I'm going to click OK. And then to view the baseline, if we just go down to grids and guides under view, and we are going to go to show baseline grid, you can see there that it's put this baseline grid behind all of our document here, ranging from the margins to the margins as we specified. So to make my text now snap to that baseline grid, if I scroll over the text and just click on this little icon here, you can see there that it's adhered to that baseline grid, so that's going to be bang on all the way throughout. Fonts are measured in points, and the body size is the measure from the ascender to the descender, with some additional body clearance. There are 12 points to a piker, 6 pikers to an inch, so that makes 72 points to every inch. So we've got some text set out here, and I'm going to start working on them and saving them into styles. So what we need to do first of all, if we go up to Window and we go to Type and Tables and we call up Paragraph Styles. And paragraph styles are really useful to sort of like maintain consistency throughout your book. So really easy to apply. Say for instance I want to save this title here as a style. I just scroll over it and click on this side here, panel here, these lines, just click on the side and go to New Paragraph Style and give it a name that makes sense to you. So for me, title, and then I'll do the same for the subtitle. Give that a name, New Paragraph Style, subtitle. Okay, and then maybe all our body text. That's still in Times, so I think I'm going to change that to Perpetuator because I'm using Gill Sans here, and Perpetuator is also a font by Eric Gill, so that might look quite nice. So Perpetuator Expert, no, that's come out, there we go. That's what we want. Perpetuator. So I'm going to leave that as that is. So that's going to be, save that as a body text. So there we go. So New Paragraph Style and save that as body copy. Good stuff. And then I think what I'm going to do also, if I say for instance for my first paragraph for every lead-in that I do, I'm going to ask it to have a drop cap. So if I say a drop cap of say 3 lines, that's great. So I'm now going to save that to my paragraph style, and I'm going to call that first para. First paragraph. Okay, so that's good. So we've got some paragraph styles saved here. So we've got first paragraph, we've got body copy, we've got subtitle, and we've got title. So then we can start applying that to the rest of our book. So say for instance if I want to scroll over the my body text and just say change that to body copy and change that to body copy. So it's instantly changed. If I want to change my titles here and here, we've got that completely saved in the same style. And the same with subtitle. Change those. And if we scroll over our first paragraph, that will also apply the rules for the first paragraph. So rather than having to go through the whole of the process time and time again, if we save our paragraph styles, It just makes the job a whole lot easier and ensures consistency throughout. Also, they're fully editable. Say for instance, with my body copy, if I scroll back into there and say for instance I want to change something, say I want to change my alignment, say for instance I want that to be justified, so I can say okay, I want it justified right. Let's preview that, see what it looks like. No, don't want that, maybe justified left. Preview that, let's have a look. Yeah, I like that, so I'm going to go okay. So because I've saved that as a paragraph style, it's now applied that for the whole of my body copy. You see that there? That's all justified. So if I do the same for my first paragraph, so let's go back into that to edit that first paragraph copy. Just double click to edit it, and then we go into, there we go right the way down, justify left, and those changes apply throughout the book. So it really is a far simpler way, and it just ensures consistency, and it just makes sure that you don't make any silly errors because you've saved your paragraph styles and they'll apply the same throughout. If you're new to typography, here are a few basic rules just to get you going. Point size, body copy is generally normally about 9 to 12 points, up to about 14 points. The leading refers to the space between the lines and is normally set around at least 20% of the font size. Serif or sans serif fonts, you have to sort of use what's appropriate for the book, but also bear in mind, you know, how you're going to get it printed. Line length, the optimum length of line that should be used in your text normally in a book is roughly between 55 and 78 characters. Alignment, if you're using a line left or a line right, that's fine, but if you're using justified, be careful of rivers, which are white space that naturally occur if you're using justified text. Avoid orphans and widows where possible. And don't forget to set a font hierarchy. Use fonts carefully and properly to organise the information, and don't use too many fonts in your books. And finally, last but not least, don't forget to squint. If you squint at a block of text, you can sort of like have a look at its density and judge whether that's a good formatting for a paragraph as well, and it's a very useful tool.